size of this thing. Oh, oh yes. Holy sh! Holy sh! I've got a big one. Coconut and beautiful big mud crab. Yum, yum.
The internet's most enviable castaway is back, once again choosing to be stranded on a desert island. No fire, no water, no supplies, just his survival skills. Out here living on seafood, Australian lungfish over 10 gin, green crabs 5 or 6 gin each. A survival trip on a deserted island. Want to join? This time Dazhuang is stranded on an unnamed Pacific island, used to scraping by with just a crude fish spear. This time, he's packing a bow, arrows, and a slingshot. So how does a marksman like him manage to survive on a desert island? Now it's low tide. Just the right moment to walk the beach and hunt for real treasures. Big green crabs are everywhere along the shore. A single one could fetch over 100 yuan at the market. But in Dazhuang's eyes, crabs of this size are basically still underdeveloped. So he just ignores those and heads up the creek with his bow, looking around. He's on the hunt for seafood that's really worth it. Soon he comes to a wider patch of shallows. A thumb-sized periwinkle pops up, proof the island's loaded. Boosting Dazhuang's confidence, he'll dig up giant green crabs. After the tide goes out, spouting holes appear in the sand. Dazhuang digs a pit. He figures these beach springs might be fresh water. After a few minutes, once the water clears, he'll be able to tell. As he waits, he doesn't idle. He starts picking up any useful trash he can find. A wooden board catches his eye, and when he flips it, a gecko is hiding underneath. At first glance, it looks just like a viper. He'd even planned to use that plank as a bed, but then he remembers all the saltwater crocs here and scraps that plan. Safer to crash in a tree anyway. Nowadays, plastic is everywhere. On the beach, it's easy to find plastic bottles with fresh water. First look if the water's clear, then smell it for anything odd. If it looks clear and smells normal, odds are you can drink it. All over this island's beach, vines creep along the sand, and these vines bear bean-like pods. After trying a few, Dazhuang finds them tasty. On a resource-poor desert island, edible plants like this are a real treasure. With a bit of food in his belly, Dazhuang heads off to keep exploring the island. He spots a heap of big green crab shells on the ground, and from just one leftover claw, you can tell that crab was massive. Shellfish are everywhere here, and Dazhuang is itching to nab a big green crab for a taste. All over the island, you can casually pick up leftover shells and crab parts. Look at this green crab claw he picks up. Dazhuang is stunned. You can tell the island's crawling with crabs. A trail shows up on the beach, left by a sea turtle that came ashore to cool off. Follow that trail, and he might bag himself a hefty, protein-packed meal. The shallow hole he clawed with his bare hands has already gone clear. If the water spurting up were fresh, then for a short time, Dazhuang wouldn't have to worry about having nothing to drink at all. But just as he confidently takes a sip,
unfortunately not. That must be a bit of fresh water pushing up, but there's too much salt in it. We're gonna have to keep looking for drinkable water.
he never imagined the water would be salty, and figures it's probably because the sand's packed with salt. He doesn't keep fussing over the water. He grabs his hook and heads straight for the mangroves to fish. He spots big fish cruising the island's channels, so Dazhuang just drops his hook right beside one. He doesn't expect it to attract the big fish, but the fish doesn't take the bait. Dazhuang believes that with enough tries, he's sure he can still land this fish, so he quickly switches to a new spot. Water's open here, so the hook won't snag. Out in the wild, you must stay cautious. Hook injuries are totally common out here. Dazhuang just keeps casting over and over.
Yes! Holy moly, that is the best eat I've ever seen. Check out the size of this. Holy, holy, holy. All right, we're going bush bashing, guys. Holy, holy. All right, we're going bush bashing, guys. No, 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 no.
This is a massive Australian lungfish. Even if it bites the hook, its powerful pole can still rip free. It's really a pity. The wound on his hand starts bleeding again from that violent tug just now. Hook's warped from that monster fish. Dazhuang glances at Xiaoxi, regret on his face. Only people who fish can get how Dazhuang feels now. He switches spots and keeps on casting. He never imagined that after he cast the hook, a fish would bite, then slip off and get away. Fish are everywhere, but getting one ashore is really not easy. After repeatedly losing fish, Dazhuang begins to doubt himself and finally gets only a small fish of a few jin. He has no choice but to release it, because for Australian lungfish, this fish is small. It's hard to catch big fish with a fishing line. Dazhuang decides to try hunting a giant with his bow and arrow instead.
Swirl of a big fish. Hopefully this is a barramundi. I'm going to try sneak up to him.
He crouches at the bank, bow ready, watching for a big fish. Soon, an Australian lungfish's shadow appears. Dazhuang eases in, lines up the shot, then pulls the bow and looses the arrow.
Oh yes. Holy sh! Holy sh! I've got a big one! Come on, mate. Come on. Yes! Bloody hell, check out the size of this.
The arrow nails the lungfish in the back. However, it thrashes. It is not getting away. Dazhuang drags the lungfish ashore. This one's at least 10 jin. Dinner is now secured. While it's still early, Dazhuang heads to the beach to look for useful things. Most of it is trash, but this clear glass bottle can carry water and even help him start a fire. Suddenly, he notices a dried up little creek ahead and walks along its bed. He follows the riverbed to find water. Eventually, Dazhuang finds a small pool. There are even some little fish in it. Dazhuang filled a bit and tasted it, confirmed it was fresh water, but it was filthy as hell. Drinking it directly could make you sick, so Dazhuang chose to boil it before drinking. He used his shirt sleeve to roughly filter out the gunk, and at the same time picked up some dry kindling nearby. With the fire lit, he immediately set the water to boil. Once the water's boiled, don't chug it. It's still hot. Let it sit and cool first. It's safer. And even though it smells weird, this is already the safest freshwater Dazhuang can get on this barren island. On a desolate island, if you're picky about food and drink, you'll starve. Water sorted out, Dazhuang got to work on dinner for the night. After gutting the fish, he simply set it over the campfire to roast. During roasting, the scales not only keep the flesh clean, they also lock in the moisture, making the fish meat more tender and juicy. What looks like simple island survival actually hides a lot of tricks. To get the fish cooked through without sharing it, just turn it over roughly every 10 minutes. Dazhuang sat and saw a crocodile 30 meters away. The croc kept surfacing now and then to catch a breath. If you're stranded on a desert island and manage to hunt a crocodile to eat, you'd be living even more comfortably than Roland in Alone in the Wild. The fish roasting over the fire gave off a meaty aroma. Dazhuang kept flipping the fish to cook both sides. The skin got totally burnt. It didn't affect the flesh inside at all. Once the fish was cooked through, he took it off the fire, laid it on a chunk of deadwood, and stripped away the charred skin. Underneath, the flesh was tender, releasing a mouth-watering scent.
Underneath is that beautiful white flesh, and the barramundi is so juicy. Yum, yum. What an absolute treat.
After eating, Dazhuang looked for a place to sleep. Noticing crocodile tracks on the sand, he chose to spend the night up in a tree. At first light, Dazhuang set out again with his bow and fishing line to hunt. Crocodile tracks lined the beach. If he was desperate for food, he'd be itching to bag a croc for a bite, but handling one is way too much trouble.
就先放过他们。等退潮时，一群蓝鱼在深水区觅食。
Dazhuang tried taking shots at them with his bow, but they were just too far. After a few tries, he called it quits. He paddled his little raft into the mangrove area. The tide hadn't fully receded yet, and from the raft he could clearly see many big fish feeding below. Maybe this was where he'd run into a monster fish. Dazhuang gripped his bow and scanned. The water was deep, making the shot tricky, and mangrove roots blocked his view. After a wait, he got an opening.
Yes! Nailed one! What a shot! Oh, he's gone right up in the back of the mangroves.
His arrow nailed a big fish, but it shot straight into the mangrove roots. If he pulled the line, it would snap. So Dazhuang waded in and dragged the fish out. Those twisted roots were a real headache, but at least the fish was trapped there too. Seaweed was thick around the roots, so Dazhuang didn't dare grab around blindly. After groping for 2 hours, Dazhuang finally hauled the fish to the surface. It was a mangrove snapper with tender flesh, ideal for grilling. Back on the beach, Dazhuang rubbed the sand with his feet, not because they were itchy, but because he was feeling for clams buried in the sand. They didn't have much meat, but they were perfect starters. In the rocky shallows, many crabs appeared. These orchid crabs were delicious, stir-fried, or cooked into congee. Fish darted among the rocks, and a yellow bream slipped past under his nose. But for Dazhuang, one was too small. Ahead, a big school of mullet appeared. If he snagged one, his food and water were settled in the shallows. Dazhuang spotted a large crab claw. These remains were likely a crab's den. He wasn't sure what was inside, so he kept probing the water with his knife, and to his surprise, he actually found a crab. However, it was really too small. Not the big mud crab he'd been hoping for. So in the end, Dazhuang chose to let it go. Once the tide receded, crabs covered the beach. Collecting 10 kilos was easy if you didn't mind them. Other than crabs, big sea snails were strewn all over. Back on the beach, Dazhuang started a fire to cook dinner. He opened a can of beans and ate them. Very salty. Then Dazhuang scooped a handful of clams and stewed them with bean paste for a small starter. Today's big fish looked great and just needed a quick gutting. Tonight's dinner would be simple. A supper of grilled fish with canned beans and clams. Over the fire, the fish released a salty fragrance, and the canned beans bubbled and boiled, filling the deserted island with the smell of dinner. After waiting a while, a fragrance drifted out. The fish was almost done, and Dazhuang could hardly wait to taste tonight's meal.
Wow. One would say that's cooked to perfection. All right, let's try our entree. Oh man, they are sweet, nice and tasty. They're like the pistachio of the sea. A bit of effort, but worth it. A few beans, a few pistachios. That'll keep you alive, but I'm looking forward to the main meal. Oh, yum. What a treat.
The day wrapped up with Dazhuang enjoying his grilled fish. On the third morning, after 2 days of only grilled fish, he was fed up. Today, Dazhuang planned to hunt mud crabs to improve meals. It was low tide. He could find mud crabs by combing the shore. After the tide goes out, small pools of water usually hide crabs, but trying to find the biggest crab on a vast stretch of mudflat hinges on luck, with only a 2 to 3 hour gap before the tide returns. It's a race against time, and Dazhuang, relying on his rich experience, soon found a big mud crab under a dead tree. But out of nowhere, a heavy rain drove the seawater rushing back in. The once dry flats were suddenly under 30 centimeters of seawater. In this situation, it was hard to find crabs. Dazhuang walked along the shore looking for a big moss-covered sea turtle still feeding. Seeing it that way, the turtle hadn't eaten enough before the tide fell, so Dazhuang went back to the shallows to hunt crabs. On the shore lay the carcass of a sea turtle. Crabs, scavengers. So this turtle corpse would likely draw in crabs to feast on it. Drizzle still fell from the sky. Was today's plan about to flop? Dazhuang tested the shallows with a fish spear, and after a few steps, found another dead turtle. All these turtles had died of thirst on the flats after missing the rising tide. Every few steps, he saw another turtle carcass, which showed just how many sea turtles lived on this deserted island. Dazhuang explored inside the shells with his spear, but didn't find any crabs hiding there. The quiet edges of the flats are where crabs hide. On the shallows, every spot looked like a crab burrow, yet he can't find any. They likely went to work and aren't home yet. Something strange appears on the beach. It looks like the wreckage of a small rocket.
Anyone home? Spaceship. It looks like a little rocket.
And on a deserted island, you really can run into all kinds of odd things, like this little pufferfish that slept in, missed the ebbing tide. It's been sprawled belly up, sulking. All morning, he scoured the shore and found nothing. The low coconut trees along the shore are Dazhuang's biggest comfort, and he casually plucks one to sip the sweet coconut water, which washes away his thirst. Out here, the coconut water seems to have a deserted island taste, and once he's recharged, Dazhuang heads back out to look for crabs. He reaches into every rock hole to feel around, and after confirming it's empty, he leaves. When the sun breaks, the beach is exposed again, a vast white expanse that looks just like a salt field. A small pufferfish rests in the shallows, seeming to have calmed down. Dazhuang deepens the little pool, hoping the water will keep it alive until the next high tide. Land crabs begin creeping out to feed, yet Dazhuang still hasn't tracked down the big mud crab he's after. By noon, the heat is brutal, so Dazhuang switches to underwater hunting and spots a mantis shrimp burrowing and stalking prey. A little fish glides over the burrow mouth, and the mantis shrimp snatches it in a flash. And you've got to admit, the way these mantis shrimp hunt is downright stunning. Empty-handed, Dazhuang grabs his fish spear and keeps hunting crabs. As the tide creeps in and the scattered water holes stand out clearly. Crabs love to hole up in these little pools, and with just a few taps of his spear, Dazhuang can tell if one's hiding inside. A mud crab missing a claw scuttles past his feet, probably a male that lost a fight for mating rights. Seeing the mud crab, Dazhuang is instantly fired up. It means he's finally found the right place. Soon, Dazhuang spots a second mud crab under the rocks. He quickly readies the camera, and this one turns out to be a true giant.
God, that is a giant mud crab. Holy moly. Oh, holy shit. This is like, holy moly. Look at the size of this thing. I'm gonna come around the backside of him here. Holy, guys, this is, oh. Holy moly, he's grabbed the spear. This is a giant crab. Let go of that spear, mate. Holy shit. Holy moly, look at the size of this thing. Oh my gosh. I'm pumping on adrenaline at the moment because this is a giant buck mud crab.
The sheer size of this crab completely stuns him. Its claws jut up from the water, each nearly 30 centimeters long, thick as a forearm. Dazhuang plans to take it from behind. Once the crab bites down on the fish spear, he can rush in and grab it, but that'd be too easy. And Dazhuang wants to challenge himself. He'll grab this mud crab with his bare hands. When he lifts it up, he finally sees how huge it is. Clutching the crab, Dazhuang hurries towards shore, its claws dominating the shot with a fierce aura as he dashes, in thrill. He feels like a groom rushing his new bride off to the bridal chamber on their wedding night.
Chill, mate, chill. Chill. What a crazy, crazy animal.
Crabs pack some of the highest testosterone in the animal world, so they're insanely aggressive.
它们见人抬起大钳子，摆出架势，像要干架。要是你在岸边找吃的时，一脚踩上去，
It could snap your leg with those claws. To keep from getting hurt, he bags the crab in burlap to avoid being mauled, but a single crab won't nearly fill him. With the tide still out, Dazhuang figures he should try for a fish too. Heading toward the mangroves, he spots another big crab tucked under a piece of driftwood. Right as he's about to wade in and snatch it, he spots a stingray lying beside it. He ignores the stingray. The crab's pull is just too strong. He pinned down the crab's claws with a stick, then grabbed it from behind. Today, his luck was off the charts. He'd caught a big blue, a premium mud crab. Its shell was dark blue purple, and he knew he'd never eat it all. He decided to release that huge crab he had just caught. After all, a crab that size was best left to spawn and balance the island's ecosystem, even if it meant his conscience let his stomach stay empty. He figured he still had to catch a fish. In the mangroves, Dazhuang looked around. The mangroves were full of crabs, and the water there was thick with fish. With no gear, landing fish was a hassle, and on a deserted island, you don't need to rely on fish. Actually, food was all over the place. Top-grade treats like premium periwinkles could just be picked up. With cash, you'd struggle to buy these luxury morsels. Dazhuang went to the shore. After the tide fell, small fish were left stranded on the reef. Even if he didn't find fish, he would see clams, and a knife was enough to open them. To eat the flesh inside, it tasted salty, and if you ate many, you'd feel parched. In the shore shallows, plenty of big yellow breams showed up, and they were easy to grab. A casual swing of a stick could knock one dead, but if you can't finish it, better leave it be. As the tide kept falling, mangrove roots stretched out, often trapping big fish in corners. If you were lucky, you might even snag a grouper. Sharks cruising the shallows drew Dazhuang's eye. With schools of small fish this dense, he believed that even tossing a random stone could kill one or two. Dazhuang watched the sharks go wild on the fish, then stepped into the shallows with his stick, waiting for them to herd the school his way.
Surely. Oh, no way. Look at that. No freaking way. Check that out. What a crazy result. I know that looks a little bit savage, but...
As he swung the stick down, he actually managed to whack a little fish. The little fish was hooked onto the wooden peg before it knew what was happening, its tail still thrashing. This fishing method is exciting. The small fish's struggle attracted a school of bigger bluefish. Dazhuang had meant to save the little fish for dinner, but watching the bluefish go wild over it, he changed his mind and used it as bait to hook them instead. Big fish were chasing little fish in the school, and Dazhuang threw bait into them. The big fish sensed something was wrong and moved farther out to hunt. Annoyed, Dazhuang grabbed stones and threw them, but they couldn't reach the fish, so he switched to a wooden stick, and after a burst of effort was surprised to haul in 2 fish. His pockets were crammed with sardines, so he moved on to the mangroves to fish. As he cast the bait, the fish went wild. Those black-spotted and co-groupers are greedy, but they were all too small for his liking. Then he spotted a much bigger grouper under a stump. He immediately sharpened his spear, planning to use it to hunt that grouper. Dazhuang jabbed the stump over and over with his spear, even tore up everything under it, but still couldn't find that big fish he'd just seen. As he was about to leave, he spotted a fish among mangrove roots. He stepped in for a closer look and saw a spotted shark. Looked like a rod was the safer bet, but each catch was too small and below the legal size, so Dazhuang had to let them go. After hours of effort, he still had nothing to eat, so he headed to the rocky shore to light a fire and make dinner. Dinner was only a crab, and Dazhuang grabbed an old coconut too. If an old coconut isn't spoiled, you can still eat it. Tap around the shell with a knife and it'll crack open easily. Inside, a layer of coconut meat, enough to fill his belly. He enjoyed the coconut. A crab scent wafted from the side. The crab had turned red and looked done.
Big coconut and beautiful big mud crab. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice meat. That's what we're dealing with. Yum, yum.
The day wrapped up as Dazhuang savored his dinner. That's all for this episode. If you like deserted island survival videos, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this.